Hi everyone. Today I want to talk about the event that me and Shinade put together yesterday, which was called Built Without Us, Navigating a Neurotypical World Through a Neurodivergent Lens. So I just want to recap on it, and we feel really excited about it, and we're excited to start this journey of these new Fireside Chats.
Hi everyone, my name is Shinade. I am Andy's virtual assistant. And yes, yesterday was our first Fireside Chat around the topic of inclusivity and accessibility. And I was so honored as not only being Andy's VA, but just as someone that is neurotypical to gain an insight into the neurodivergent world. We spoke a lot about different topics around the misconceptions, self-portrayal, and the experience of masking as a neurodivergent person. And I think it was just very eye-opening overall to do some self-assessment, self-reflections that us as neurotypical people have a lot to learn about how we can reflect upon ourselves and learn from neurodivergent people just in general, because the level at which they go about understanding themselves is so profound. And it was very, very special chat. It was a huge milestone for Andy and I, and we're very just excited for what's to come.
Yeah, and we want to also share about what the relationship's been like for us to work together. It's been a journey really, and it's been interesting, and that's what we've actually brought into the conversation at the start. So one of the parts of working with Shinade has been ideas that she's generated from my ideas. So I want to acknowledge her for that, because I think she's good at coming up with ideas, and then they complement the ideas I've already got or the intentions I've got with the business.
Andy and I have been working together for a while now, not too long, but not too short. And essentially our working relationship might have started off with oh my word, we're kind of not bumping heads, but there's definitely not as much of an understanding as we would have probably liked at first. And I can only credit Andy for this, and it's the fact that I'm totally extroverted and I'm an empathetic person, and Andy is, I think, much of the same in the fact of he was so open about his vulnerabilities and honest. He was like, this is who I am, take it or leave it. I'm neurodivergent, I'm this, I'm that. This is how I like to do things. And we kind of just collaborated on what works best for us as a team in terms of oh, well, this works for the most people, the generic long texts and text-based messaging instead of face-to-face. But with Andy, we needed to design the system around him and not put him into an already existing system. And since then, I think the collaboration's been great. We have so much better understanding of each other, and on calls and video calls, we can definitely read the room with each other. We can understand tone. We have little catch-ups in between. So it's a healthy relationship between the neurotypical and neurodivergent. And I think that's the whole message of today, is that it is possible to take those steps to understand each other and to really break the generic flow of how things should go, and not everyone fits into that. So it's been a pleasure working with Andy.
There was this time once when you mentioned oh Andy, yeah, you're a people person. And then I was my brain was processing it, going, oh yeah, kind of am actually. But I don't always see myself as that, because I'm a bit of I've got an introverted side and an extroverted side, and it's I do enjoy being around people, and I think there's a lot of people through my life have said that I'm an outgoing person. But then I have these moments where I'm really shy or need my own space and time away from socialising and everything. So it's been interesting to have that reflected back. And then I've been going to more networking events this year, and it's really shown me the power of networking, and from a different perspective maybe from what I've experienced before. Now I'm leaning into that feeling of being a people person. So I'm getting an applause from Shinade there as well.
Right, though, it's right. You have when Andy and I first started working together, there was the whole thing of being, I guess, more on the shyer end, and through this year, and our time working together, look at how you've grown. You just automatically seen as a people's person now.
Yeah. So when you said that, it was kind of a mind-blowing moment, I think. but I really appreciated it and it stuck with me. And it kind of reminds me of being in touch with my inner child, I think, because I've done that a lot of that work this year and helps me to understand what do I want in life. So it's like connecting back to your inner child can help you see your authentic self, what you want to show up as. When I was like really young, I was like going past people in the garden or something and I'd be like, hey, what are you doing? They were shocked that I was asking them questions. I was just always curious and I was like, wanted to be around people and wanted to have those interactions and get the connection. So like, it's kind of made me reflect on that and think about that's why I'm a people person, because at the core, it's what I've always enjoyed is to like have those good vibes.
Oh, 100%. I completely understand. But also like, sorry, and it's now triggered this like thought of yesterday's like chat and how that curiosity factor is definitely something that's like more profound as well in like neurodivergent, like people and children just wanting to know like how things work and how this and how that, like this whole like journey of like who you are is actually quite brilliant because it's like led you to like just question so many different things. And like I think like one of them is like how you can give back. And this like whole chat we had yesterday, I mean, so many people were like, oh, this like helped me, this was like so great, like this information. And I think it's just like a really great way of your inner child into like the Andy now and still questioning things, but like also just giving back to like so many people around you.
I think it helps for lots of different areas of your life when you connect back to your inner child and then you step back into your adult self and you realise that you might have been neglecting it by not listening to that inner child and being like, what do I authentically want? So I think now we could talk a bit about how we brought the event together and like the start of the idea and everything like that.
You brought it up around just the fact that like you were really interested in inclusivity and accessibility, and you were like, oh, like a lot of people on LinkedIn like that you connect with are into that. And I was like, oh, like let's go about outreach. And then we started the outreach of like people within the IT space. And then one day we're like, why don't we put these people in a group? Why don't we just stick them in a room?
yeah. And I think so it was your idea, I think, wanted to do to like get them on a call, right? To do a good.
You said that you had already discussed something of that sort with Rory Sung, though.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that was the previous VA that I was working with.
So you
we
can
did
say
speak
that
about something.
You can say I sparked the idea again, but I don't think it was my idea to start with.
Part of it was my own experience of editing videos in a way that I can watch. I'm thinking of like the viewer. I'm putting myself in the viewer's shoes or whatever, and I'm like, how would I stay engaged watching this video? So then sometimes I'd be thinking of things like death by PowerPoint when people put loads of text on the screen and stuff. So then if there was a slide where I had lots of different texts and it was like unclear which part they were on, then I'd like crop it out and then like put it on the screen of like, this is the bit they're talking about. Just so it makes it clear for everyone. So different things like that makes it accessible for everybody. And that's one thing I mentioned yesterday of how when we make things accessible, everybody benefits. So things like that, it's clear and to the point. The ideal situation is that people watch Death by PowerPoint and actually change their slides in accordance with that. But a lot of people might have watched it and just forgot it all, or just, I don't know. People, like when you're neurodivergent like me, you watch something and you can't let go of that and you're like, I can't go back now. I'm going full in. so like
down the rabbit hole I go.
All you really need is a picture behind you for context. And then you can speak and you might have your notes and stuff, but you don't need any text on the screen necessarily. So that's kind of like the most hardcore way of doing it. It's just a picture. And I think if more people did that, then it would be easier for people to concentrate and like all they need is that little context. So that's just one example of me experimenting with editing and making things more accessible with video content. So I want to work with more like companies that want to be more accessible and want to do this kind of stuff. Obviously having an impact in the space is important to me as well, and sharing my own perspectives. Someone with ADHD and someone that suspects I have autism as well. So it's the ADHD experience is also different to just ADHD on its own. So it's basically my interest that led to that and wanting to work with more projects like that.
I'm going to intervene quickly.
Yep.
So fun facts about Andy that you don't know for the behind the scenes makings and idea creation of the Fireside Chats. For one, Andy is all about authenticity. The man practices what he preaches. And we were doing like an analysis of his LinkedIn, and we saw that there were a lot of people within like the film, IT space, and so on that were into accessibility and inclusivity. And then we started doing like outreach to those people to connect with more people that were alike. And we eventually came up with the point of like, Andy wanted to have everyone in a very casual setting, because that also stems from like authenticity. Like there's no need to like have a full script about how to present yourself, and it should just be something that comes from the heart. He is very into inclusivity and accessibility. I mean, his LinkedIn reflects it for sure. Like he's a LinkedIn warrior. And he does like volunteering, and I think it's really special that this whole Fireside Chat thing is meant to also mirror the like values that he has within Tourmaline Films and what he wants to like create as like a symbol. Once you see like Tourmaline Films, like you're in a safe place, you'll be understood, accepted, and we can only hope the same for us. But that's the kind of business that Andy wants to have, and that's the kind of like people he wants to connect to. So that's what made this whole like project as well so special.
I like to be as casual as I can be in my like messages and stuff like that as well, for example, which comes into the authenticity again, and like in different parts of how I interact and show them the business and everything. It's like a way that just feels like a casual chat. And there's people on LinkedIn that I've been watching recently that are doing a lot of comedy skits and different things like this, or like using comedy in a way to sell themselves. So like Craig Burgess is a really good example, where he's talking about how the company does websites, but then he does it in a funny comedy way. So I feel like a lot of people that are doing that, it's that same thing. It's like it feels authentic, and it feels like their personality, just having a laugh and being a normal person, not being this business person that's like stiff and rigid.
I think that was one of the things that was like the most complex factor of our like working relationship when we first started. Andy at first thought that my messages were curated by AI, or I was the AI chatbot, because of like the systematic, like generic way of like client VA, like how we speak. And he was like, no, you can't do that. Like you can't speak like that. So it's been a really great and special experience, like going into and actually implementing, because it took quite a while. I'm sure you would agree, Andy, to like get to that point where we're like, okay, like let's take the leap of faith, put this out on LinkedIn and see what happens. And at least from my end, luckily everything went to plan. As someone that was like admin on the back end, it was great to see nothing fall apart, and that Andy really like got to have the conversations that he wanted to have with Gary. And it was just informative, it was educational, and people felt comfortable, like, and Andy, I think you can speak as well onto like how exactly we made the Fireside Chat like as inclusive and accessible as we did, by like having the different forms of communication.
One of the ideas I had was to put like a message in the chat to say, keep your camera on, you can turn it off. It's up to you, and you can put messages in the chat. And then Shinade said that she can read them out and different things like this. Just making people have options. If you want to just have do text, stick to that, and we can still be involved in the discussion and still be a participant in it. So, and I think that also feels different to sometimes professional kind of framed places where there's a bit of a, almost feel like a hierarchy or something of like, we're the professionals, and then it's like, listen to us and that's it. But it's like, there's a part of that, because obviously there's me and Gary talking, and we have knowledge about this subject. But then we're also like inviting people to share their perspectives and their experiences, because we know that will have something to share too. And a lot of the time people relate to things even if they're not neurodivergent. So that was one of the ways of thinking of it.
I think it's just one of those things where kind of having a space where anyone can be there, as someone like myself that is quite new to like, the discussions around neurodivergence and so on. I don't have a lot to contribute, but I felt very comfortable myself, like being in that chat, being able to I asked numerous questions, even though I had nothing prepared. I was there like, oh, like I should ask this question, because it was that kind of environment where you felt like you didn't need, you were around two very knowledgeable individuals, Gary and Andy, but they made you feel both so welcome to ask what you needed to ask. And I think that's the great thing about, no matter where you stand on like your knowledge of accessibility and inclusivity, in many of these future fireside chats, you're going to find something, even as a neurotypical person, that one you relate to, and something that you can question, be like, oh, like I know someone that is going through this, or I've been through this, and or I have that characteristic. And it's a bit of like self-awareness, and as much as that's scary for a lot of people, I think it was a really, really good thing.
Yeah, the self-awareness one was definitely one that came up, and one that I've reflected on a lot this year, because I did an interview with somebody and I was telling them about how in like working environments or new relationships, I'll like tell people certain things about me. Like one thing is I'll say is like I don't always remain in eye contact as long as like a neurotypical person. I'll like take breaks and think and look around. I'm really looking in different directions and like thinking about things like as I'm talking to somebody, instead of like staying in eye contact more, because I think it's one of those things that can overstimulate me or other neurodivergent people if we're just always staying in eye contact. Or sometimes it's an extreme thing where you either have no eye contact or fully locked into somebody and it's too much for them. It's a bit of a thing of navigating that eye contact thing. So then being open about it and saying, if it looks like I'm not interested or listening to you, that's why, because sometimes I'm processing things and looking away from you, because I can't look at you at the same time as concentrating sometimes. But it looks like I'm not concentrating sometimes for people that don't understand it. So when I said that to the person I was interviewing, they basically said, like, reflected back to me that it's like, oh yeah, you're telling people about yourself and it shows you're showing that you've got self-awareness. So then I thought, oh yeah, that was something that stuck with me. And then we're talking about how self-awareness is something everyone can benefit from. So learning from neurodivergent people can make you more self-aware. So that's where that kind of came up for me recently this year, and it's come into this discussion, and it was nice to have that in there.
Yeah, there was a lot of things I think that inspired these kind of chats for this year, and I think the main message we want to send by like just letting you guys and everyone that's watching in on the little behind the scenes is that everyone is welcome, no matter where you stand on whether you're neurotypical, neurodivergent, or how knowledgeable you are on the subject. Andy's got a very enticing list of people that he wants to have with him on the fireside like chats and talks. So everyone is welcome, and it's just a place where you can learn, where you can listen. If you don't want to talk, you don't have to. And that is just very much resembling and mirroring, as I said earlier, the type of person that Andy is and the type of business that he runs. Tourmaline Films, he really has done a great job, and I am very proud to be by his side in doing this. And yes, so we hope to see many more of you in the future.
One thing that's interesting about it is I feel like we can take it in a lot of different directions. The people that are on it and the topics that we discuss, I think, can be diverse. And everything, I think every space can be applied to this, making spaces more accessible and inclusive, and understanding that there's a value to be had in people that aren't always valued. And part of the discussion is talking to people that know about the neurodivergent. Then it's talking to people that maybe they are, but they don't know yet, and then they talk about it, and then they find out, or people join the call and they listen and they go, wait a minute, maybe I am. And that's what I like about these conversations, because I didn't know until about a year ago that I had ADHD, so it's a lot of people are diagnosed late as well. So that'll be interesting.
He sounds like a little cult. Come find out if you're neurodivergent, if you got the neurospicy, come here.
What spicy?
We're gonna tell you.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's going to be exciting to continue with these discussions, and there's a lot of different topics that we're considering about talking about. One of them would be demand avoidance where there's too many demands on you as an autistic or ADHD person, and it overwhelms you. So then you have to understand strategies that are low demand. So that's going to be an interesting one. Yeah, spirituality and meditation and that sort of thing, embodiment. These different things that help you to regulate your immune system, I think are going to be important topics, which did come up a little bit with Gary. So I'm excited about those, and yeah.
So as everyone can hear and see, there's a lot in the books to come, and we are excited for you to all watch a few, join a few, whatever you're most comfortable with. And yeah,